Good afternoon, this is the latest video update on severe tropical storm Saola and a new tropical storm, Tropical Storm Damrey, which is now the 10th named cyclone in the 2012 the Pacific typhoon season. So we're quickly moving along the name list. Very hectic right now in the western Pacific basin, but we start off with severe tropical storm Saola or Bagyong Gener in the Philippines. System was last located approximately 440 kilometers east of Apari, Cagayan. Apari is right over here, and the center of circulation is located somewhere over here. Maximum sustained winds are now up to 100 kph with gusts of up to 155 kph, according to the latest bulletin from JMA. Saola is currently moving to the northwest at 10 kilometers per hour, so very slow moving system, but is somewhat struggling to consolidate, mainly because there seems to be a two circulations basically spinning on a common center. This was noted by JTWC earlier today, and actually you can see that the bulk of the convection is somewhat located on the south and southwestern side of the center, and also, as you can see, despite the system being offshore of the island of Luzon, we're now seeing some very bright clouds moving in, particularly along the eastern coast of Luzon, and also some rains being reported as well in central and even southern Luzon. And we now have signal number 2 up for Cagayan, Calayan, Babuyan, and Batanes groups of islands, basically northern area of Luzon. They're in anticipation of Saola or Gener. We also have signal number 1 up for Isabela, Kalinga, and Apayao provinces. Looking at the infrared image, again you can see the center of circulation and the bulk of the convection here. And again, as I've noted, some rains also being reported here in Cagayan, as also here in Isabela. And again, the feeder bands and also the southwest monsoon being enhanced by the system, bringing some scattered to widespread light to moderate rains across southern and even southern Luzon, and even here in Palawan and Visayas region. Many areas already reporting 50 to 100 millimeters of rain, and we expect the rains to actually continue for another 1 to even 2 days. Definitely bring the potential for flash floods and landslides, so please be careful and monitoring the local news for any evacuations or latest news for your respective areas. And actually we have received the news here that officials here in La Mesa Dam are advising a preemptive evacuations because of the dam is actually nearing its spilling level. This is reported as of 5 p.m. today, so very critical situation right now there. La Mesa is located here in Quezon City, and you can see in this latest radar image some very heavy rains approaching from the west. And as you can see on this latest radar image, actually we are seeing somewhat of a cyclonic turning, very cyclonic circulation, and that is actually created by yet another low pressure area spotted just west of Luzon. We'll talk about that later in the video, but again, the main news and main story here again is the feeder bands feeding off of Saola, bringing that widespread rains across Subic and parts of central and southern Luzon, as you can see in the Subic radar. We also have here Tagaytay's radar, again just showing you the widespread extent of the heavy rains. Visayas right now, some sort of lighter rains right now, but we are still seeing some isolated thunderstorms popping up, moving into Cebu and Bohol, and eventually into the eastern part of Visayas right there. So still some very rainy conditions across much of the Philippines in the next 2 days, unfortunately. And moving on to the forecast for Saola, we have here the multi-agency forecast, just showing you here just to save time and not bothering to post the images of respective agencies that could take us a long time here, but again showing you the very good consensus now among the forecasting agencies, showing a landfall here in eastern coast of Taiwan by as early as Wednesday afternoon. forecasting agency is also expecting Saola to become a typhoon as early as tomorrow night, and JTW is actually very aggressive in terms of intensity, forecasting Saola to become a Category 2 typhoon as it makes landfall Wednesday night with winds of up to 175 kph right there. So but again, even though we do have a good consensus among forecasting agencies, there are still uncertainties remaining with the track of the storm, because again, with the existence of Damrey well south of Japan, they are too far away right now to really get going with Fujiwara effect, but could still influence the system to track away from the forecast. And actually, if you look at the respective forecasts from these agencies, they all have a very wide cone of error extending from north of Shanghai and even as far south as Hong Kong, just showing you how wide the cone of error right now and the cone of uncertainty basically among this forecast agency, showing you the volatility of the situation right now in terms of not only with Saola and actually with Damrey. And speaking of Damrey, we are now going to talk about the system. Remains east of Iwoto and remains east of the Ogasawara Islands. Maximum sustained winds are at 75 kph with gusts of up to 110. It continues to move slowly, very slowly actually, to the west-northwest at 5 kilometers per hour. And showing you the infrared image, got some very good convective activity, but as I noted yesterday actually, much of the convection is still displaced and sheared somewhat to the east. But we have seen new convection trying to build very near the center of circulation, so that could be indicative of the somewhat of an improvement with the structure of the storm. And we do expect this system to continue intensifying, albeit at a slower pace compared to Saola. Conditions are favorable for development. Sea surface temperatures are relatively cooler, but still favorable for development. Wind shear remains light to moderate in the area, and we also have tropical upper tropospheric trough enhancing that radial outflow along the system. And in fact, JMA is actually forecasting Damrey to become a typhoon as early as Wednesday here as it approaches Kyushu. And you can see on this latest multi-agency forecast again showing you Damrey. Very good consensus actually among the forecast agencies, showing a track to the west-northwest and actually brushing the southern part of Kyushu by Thursday afternoon basically here. Again, as I said, JMA is forecasting a typhoon by Wednesday. JTWC weaker in their forecast, but still forecasting a very strong tropical storm just below typhoon status as it makes its way towards the Japanese islands. Again, showing the good consensus and eventually tracking into eastern China Sea. So very long-lived system as we watch Damrey move to the west-northwest. But again, with the initial track forecast, it seems that it will remain somewhat far from Saola to really get that Fujiwara or direct cyclone interaction to happen. So we are kind of sticking with this very straightforward forecast right now among these forecasting agencies, but the threat remains for parts of the southern islands, particularly here in the region of Kyushu, as they will potentially be in the right foot quadrant of the storm. So all the winds and waves and rains from the system will be heading towards that area. And finally, before we end the video, I just want to quickly talk about again the two systems that we're watching right now. Basically, we have Saola and Damrey, and actually located two more low pressure areas. We have Invest 96W well south of Guam.